Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hydrogen Hero. It's a surprise for all of us. The real Hydrogen Hero, H2 Hero, there he is. And welcome to the third edition of the Hydrogen Week. It is a pleasure and an honor to welcome many, many excellencies here in the room. And I would like to welcome, of course, the State Secretary of India. We will come back to your speech later on. His Excellency, the Ambassador of Saudi Arabia, and His Excellency, the Ambassador of Algeria here in the room. And I would like to start the official Hydrogen Week with my chair, the co-chairs here. We are Hydrogen Europe, but of course the European Commission is co-organizer and main organizer of this event, like the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, Rosalinde van der Vlies, and Hydrogen Europe Research, of course, our sister, cousin. I would like to welcome here on stage Rosalinde van der Vlies for the European Commission. Valerie Bouillon-Delporte from, you know her very well, she was the chair of Hydrogen Europe, now she's the executive director of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Welcome here on stage. And of course, Luigi Crema, my colleague as the president of Hydrogen Europe Research. So this year's Hydrogen Week, third edition, and people say, if you make it 3 times and you are successful, then this format becomes something like a commodity. So this is the 3rd year. We have lots of exhibitors, but I come to it later on. We just wanted to set a little bit the scene as the organizers of this event, and we have agreed to show you only one slide. That would be me starting here with slide? No? No? Okay. Does not work. Oh, sorry. There it is. That's my funny slide to start with. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a year where everybody thinks it goes up, the story always goes up, and I will elaborate a little bit more on that. Everybody has a plan, but sometimes, as Mike Tyson, the philosopher who sometimes boxes even in high age, says, sometimes your plan gets stopped or gets changed. And this is exactly how we feel in the hydrogen sector. It's not to derail, it's just to see where are we? How can we reposition? How can we adapt to the current situation? And this year's Hydrogen Week will explain to you that the game is not over, the game just starts, but sometimes some big expectations might be readapted to reality in order to become reality. And this is why we feel and we believe that the exhibitors this year show that it happens. It happens, and you will see more than 200 exhibitors. That's exactly the figure, 225, that we see in concrete projects, concrete hydrogen projects all over Europe, and this is very, very good. So it happens, and we are very glad, I said this from the very beginning, that our partner country this year is one of the stars on a global scale when it comes to hydrogen. That's India, but more about later on. I would now really like to ask Rosalinde van der Vlies to come here and to welcome on behalf of the European Commission and to open this European Hydrogen Week. Rosalinde.
Good afternoon, everybody. So let me just, before I start and welcoming you on behalf of the European Commission to Hydrogen Week in Brussels, just a bit of a check-in of the temperature in the room. So who is really excited that we are starting our Hydrogen Week? Ah, that's very good. And for the ones who are not yet very excited, that's okay. But hopefully, after we went through the opening, you will already start to feel the excitement a bit more. Because the Hydrogen Week this year could not be at a better time. We are, in Brussels, transitioning into a new European Commission with a new College of Commissioners that have survived 72 hours of hearing with the European Parliament. But also, geopolitically, the world is changing fast. So it is really important for us, as Jorgo said, to reconvene, to regroup, and to move forward. We can really expect that for the European Commission, as the new college with new political priorities will take office, hopefully sooner rather than later, we will continue to focus on the implementation of our European Green Deal. At the same time, we will also need to stand stronger on our feet as European Union. And thirdly, there will be a huge new focus on strengthening industrial competitiveness. And we've had various high-level reports that all point into the direction industrial competitiveness will be a very important political priority for the incoming College of Commissioners. And one of the first initiatives that the College will be presenting in the first 100 days will be the Clean Industrial Deal. Now, of course, hydrogen will continue to play a very important role for the sustainable competitiveness of our European industry. And I've quoted it very often, and I will say it again, hydrogen is the rock star of the energy transition. And research and innovation will continue to play a very important role to ensure that we move the hydrogen economy from niche to scale. So we must continue to invest in research and innovation. Some people say we should focus now on deployment. And of course we should. We need to accelerate deployment. But let's not forget that everything that we can deploy started with research and innovation. So we need to continue to invest in research and innovation to make our existing technologies more cheap, to work on the cost effectiveness and also on the circularity. But at the same time, we also need to take into account the longer term need for the European Union to remain competitive. And for the longer term need, we need to invest in new solutions that may not be immediately deployable, but may only be deployable in a few years' time. But we need to make sure that we also take into account the longer term vision for research and innovation. And it's very clear that we have a strong new commissioner coming in, Mrs. Zakharieva. She already indicated very clearly her priorities in her hearing with the European Parliament. She is first of all very committed to radically simplify and make it easier for companies to get access to funding. Her second priority for the European Union will be to focus, reduce our priorities and really focus on those areas where we can contribute, on the one hand, to the sustainability of the European Union, but also contribute to the European competitiveness. And thirdly, our incoming commissioner will be very, very committed to better collaborate with member states. Only 10% of the European public investments in research and innovation come from the European Union. 90% is still happening at the national level. And this is where the Strategic Energy Technology Plan can play a very important role, also for hydrogen. So through the SET plan, the Strategic Energy Technology Plan, we will be working together with member states and also with the industry to develop a common European research and innovation agenda. And by doing so, we need to focus also on how we can accelerate the deployment, and we focus on cross-cutting priorities such as circularity, digitalization, and upskilling our workforce. So I'm asked also to present a funny slide. Well, after Jorgo, it's very difficult to be funny. But I basically asked artificial intelligence, how will the hydrogen economy look like? And you see here on the slide quite a futuristic image of how the hydrogen economy looks like. But it does illustrate that hydrogen is really a multifaceted solution for many different end-use applications. And as Leonardo da Vinci said, knowing is not enough, we must apply, and being willing is not enough, we must do. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's agree that we will do, and that we will do this together. Collaboration is really key for our common success. So let's make sure that we turn the opportunities of hydrogen into a reality to make sure that we can power our economy with hydrogen and also safeguard our planet. Today is the next step in building our hydrogen future together. I wish you all a really inspiring Hydrogen Week ahead. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you for your passion. And thank you for being here.
Many thanks. Many thanks, Rosalinde. And while Luigi is coming to take the floor, I have to explain, we are a strange animal, we, the Europeans and the European Union. The new commission is coming, but not yet there. The old commission and the only two commissioners who are still surviving for the next term are in Baku because they are negotiating on our behalf. So that's why this year it's a transition year, let me put it like that, but a transition year with a lot of energy for the next 5 years. Luigi Crema, the president of Hydrogen Europe Research. You have the floor.
Thank you, Jorgo. And ladies and gentlemen, it is first of all an honor and a pleasure for me to be here and have the chance to open together with colleagues the Hydrogen Week and the High-Level Policy Conference from Hydrogen Europe Research. We are more than convinced that research and innovation is on the cornerstone of keeping competitiveness, particularly for our industrial sector and supporting the industrial sector, but even pushing new ideas, new materials into the loop of new and emerging technologies. But I would like to start from a different angle to do my few words. So I recently attended, and even following the statements from Jorgo, several events where there was some pessimism regarding the development of the hydrogen sector. Its projects and its activities. I responded by pointing out that while these observations may reflect a snapshot of the current moment, they don't fully capture the broader long-term trajectory. To illustrate, if we were to look at a forest in the middle of winter, we would see dry, leafless trees. But that winter picture doesn't represent the whole story. Just as the hydrogen sector isn't defined by a specific, maybe current phase. It's more like a movie in which winter inevitably gives way to spring and summer. And if a tree is falling and we hear quite a loud noise, all around there's a silent forest growing, and this is happening. We must believe in what we do and keep striving towards our ambitious climate objectives. Hydrogen will for sure be an essential energy vector for our decarbonized future energy system. When times seem complicated, opportunities arise to be bold and achieve tomorrow what may seem difficult today. And here we come, researchers and innovators. We are incurable optimists who every day face problems, confident of finding a solution, confident that a limit can be overcome. We have always done it through the history, discovering the foundations of electrochemistry, developing electrolytic cells, studying the properties of materials, and designing the first technological forms within our laboratories. In the disciplines of physics and chemistry, I'm convinced there's still many new dimensions to explore, both at the fundamental level and in the continuous improvement of what already exists and is produced. And we combine this with the need to develop even closer to the industrial partners, with the role of innovator, which is a specialist driven by scientific knowledge and excellence, but who adopts an industrial working method on a relevant industrial scale. We must accelerate, and we can do it bringing together perhaps complementary and synergic. In conclusion, hydrogen is the molecule of destiny. In history, we have used various energy vectors from prehistory to the present day to it, to produce energy for our activities and to foster economic growth, with a different and decreasing, constantly decreasing ratio between carbon and hydrogen, as you can see in the picture. We started with biomasses, who has 10 atoms of carbon per 1 atom of hydrogen, and then coal, with a ratio 1 carbon to 1 hydrogen atom, and then the oil, with a ratio 1 to 2, and natural gas with a ratio 1 to 4. There's still one step ahead, one only step missing, the last step. With this, I wish you all a good Hydrogen Week and an exciting time discussing all together in the following days.
Many thanks. Many thanks, Luigi. Impressive. Huh? But this shows, I like this molecule of destiny. I would now welcome Valerie, Bouillon-Delporte, who knows the hydrogen sector very, very well for many, many years. So she was my boss many years. So I need to be still nice to her.
You don't look traumatized, huh?
No. I was not traumatized.
Okay, can we put the fun slide? Okay. I'm sure you're not familiar with the rule of the 3 Bs. No. Be brave, be bold, be ambitious. And that's exactly what humanity did 55 years ago by landing on the moon. So come on, guys. There's no reason why we shouldn't make it in hydrogen. Much easier. So let's state it loud and clear. Energy transition, well, is definitely on its way. And I dare to say that energy transition will not happen without hydrogen. In order to accelerate and strengthen the development and deployment of a hydrogen value chain, it is crucial to join efforts and to work in collaboration at European, national, and regional level, and to continue bringing together industry, research, and public sectors. And that is exactly the role and the mission of a Clean Hydrogen Partnership. As a public-private partnership, we are by design here to help accelerating the development and deployment of a European value chain for safe and sustainable clean technologies, strengthening its competitiveness, accelerating the market entry of innovative, competitive clean solutions. To make it short, it's all about collaboration and cooperation. At a time when innovation and competitiveness are both high on the agenda, I'm proud to reflect today on the pivotal role that Clean Hydrogen Partnership plays in advancing hydrogen innovation across Europe with its unique DNA. We have funded, since our inception, 373 projects, with 1.63 billion fundings, and the same amount of contribution was brought by the private sector. We have supported young startups to become full-fledged companies, and some of them even became unicorns. I won't name all of them because otherwise I will forget some and then I will be in trouble. We've helped through our fundings as well the electrolyzer industry to blossom and to stand as champions worldwide. But we still need net zero technology such as hydrogen to allow Europe to remain an industrial powerhouse and to put Europe at the forefront of research and innovation. Innovation generates growth and jobs. The Hydrogen Partnership will contribute to the objectives of the Net Zero Industry Act by continuing to support the scale-up of hydrogen technologies and by increasing its competitiveness. Our effort will also support the REPowerEU plan, which aims to double the number of hydrogen valleys by 2025. We have supported up to date 16 hydrogen valleys across 15 European countries, and they represent a total cost of investment of more than 1 billion, with 200 megawatt capacity of electrolysis production, generating 21,000 tons of hydrogen per year. This year, we are funding 6 additional Vlies, which will add an additional 10,000 tons of capacity production per year. Importantly, our work in the years to come will once more underscore the power of collaboration. Synergies with other European partnerships, member states, and international bodies remain at the heart of our approach. We are uniting stakeholders to create an integrated ecosystem for hydrogen technologies. But we need to continue this collective effort, and additional support will be necessary for Europe to continue leading the way. We have identified the areas in which hydrogen can and will make the difference: industrialization and competitiveness, pre-normative research, mainly safety and standards, skills, valleys, including ports, airports, and also flagship projects. We need to make sure that the innovation that are being funded don't stay on the shelf, and that they are the first steps towards deployment and massive industrialization. Since its inception, our partnership delivered the glue that we need for our sector to bring immediate answers to the energy transition. Yet there are still plenty of issues where R&D are relevant despite the maturity of many applications. Let me share 2 figures. IEA stated that 35% of emission reduction will come from technology which have not yet been invented. And according to LICA's report, €1 spent in research and innovation equals €11 of value being created. So we got to do it together, and the next FP10 will play a crucial role. Research together with policymakers and together with industry. That's the magic circle. This is exactly the DNA of our joint undertaking. So let's continue the work that we have started more than 15 years ago, connecting research to industry needs. Let's bring it to scale now. We are definitely Team Europe. Thank you.
So, merci beaucoup. Thanks very much, Valerie. The Clean Hydrogen Partnership is basically a partnership between the European Commission, the research sector, and the industry. Valerie is the executive arm, and there's a chair. And the chair is always somebody representing the industry, and the chair that has been re-elected a few weeks ago is our next speaker, is Danica Maljković, who is, and you can come already to the floor, who is active. She's the CTO of Indeloop, a Croatian company, active in pyrolysis. So this is something different, waste to hydrogen. You know the green hydrogen, we go back, we go away from colors, we call it end of the rainbow. We don't want to talk about colors, but about production methods. And she represents one very innovative and for humankind very important production method. And you have the floor right now as the chair of the governing board of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Danica, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Jorgo. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, policymakers, and visionaries of the hydrogen industry. It is an honor to address you today as we have gathered at a critical juncture, not just for the hydrogen industry, but for the future of clean energy, economic resilience, and technological leadership. Let me start with the number, 25%. That's the estimated share of energy demand that hydrogen could meet up to 2050. That potential carries with it a staggering 30 million jobs worldwide, a reduction of 6 gigatons of CO2, and a €1 trillion opportunity for the global economy. In fact, the global hydrogen market is projected to reach approximately 230 billion by 2030. And if we zoom in on the European hydrogen market, it is anticipated to grow to about 130 billion by the same time. The European Commission predicts hydrogen could be generating up to 820 billion euros annually in revenues and supporting over 1 million jobs across the continent by 2050. And yet, the question remains, will Europe become the world's hydrogen powerhouse? What's holding us back? Let's be honest. Our industry has weak links, and we must confront it if we are serious about realizing our vision of a true European hydrogen economy. First, we have an infrastructure gap. It is one thing to produce hydrogen. It's another to store, transport, and distribute it cost-effectively. We've made progress, yes, but pipelines and storage facilities across Europe remain insufficient to support the scale we need. Second, the green premium. Hydrogen, particularly green hydrogen, remains expensive. While the costs are falling, they are not falling fast enough to compete with fossil fuels without subsidies. Third, policy fragmentation. Europe is home to some of the world's most ambitious hydrogen strategies, but ambition without coordination risks failure. And fourth, inefficiencies. Electrolysis, the primary method for producing green hydrogen from water, remains energy-intensive and costly. These concerns were also voiced in the European Court of Auditors report, who called for a reality check. They highlight, although the EU has made significant strides, the ambitious goals for hydrogen production by 2030 may not be fully achievable without addressing these key challenges. So what we do from here? We turn to technology. The technologies are emerging, such as white hydrogen, advanced membranes, and artificial intelligence, which have the potential to simplify processes and reduce the cost of hydrogen production. While established methods like energy storage and fuel cell applications form the backbone of the hydrogen economy, I'm convinced that innovation is its blood life. Yet, the hydrogen economy isn't just about clean energy. It's about addressing challenges that extend far beyond the energy far beyond the energy sector. To achieve this, we must rethink existing processes and relentlessly strive to make them more efficient. Consider this number, 800 million tons. That's the amount of waste generated annually across the European Union. Much of this waste still ends up in landfills or incinerators, representing not only a missed opportunity, but also a growing environmental challenge. As Jorgo mentioned, at the Docking Envelope, a company where I work, we see waste to hydrogen as a prime example of the needed innovation. By turning waste into clean hydrogen, we have the chance to tackle two crises with one solution. Just imagine what we could achieve if we apply this ethos to every aspect of the hydrogen value chain. Picture the centralized production hubs utilizing locally available resources, renewables, waste, biomass, to generate hydrogen precisely where it's needed. This is a necessary way to think if we strive to achieve clean, energy-independent communities. Our European commitment to research and development ensures that we stay at the front of this critical field, providing the tools necessary for the hydrogen-powered future. Let's be clear, if Europe doesn't lead, others will. Countries like China and US are moving fast, and the window for leadership is closing. Beyond technology, we must not forget the geopolitical dimension. Europe imports over 80% of its energy, leaving us vulnerable to external shocks. And hydrogen offers a pathway, not just to decarbonization, but also to energy independence. By shifting to hydrogen, Europe will diversify its energy mix, reduce reliance on imported fossil fuels, and enhance its energy security. This transition also strengthens Europe's economic resilience, insulating us from global energy price volatility and enhancing our global competitiveness. So, to my colleagues in the industry who are here, it's time to move beyond pilot projects and press releases. Let's scale. Let's collaborate not just with the public sector, but across industries, supply chains, and borders. And let's be bold enough to tackle the systemic challenges we know exist. To policymakers, you've already given us a roadmap. Give us a runway. Simplify permitting, harmonize administration, prioritize infrastructure, and above all, ensure that funding mechanisms reward innovation and scalability, especially for small and medium enterprises. Let's make this the decade when Europe not only led in hydrogen, but redefined what was possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Danica. Danica? I think this was quite impressive to see some numbers and to understand where we are. And if you allow me, I would like to set a little bit the scene where we are and talk bluntly about the hydrogen sector, because that's how we proceed. We talk bluntly and openly about where we are. And if I could go on, the mood in which we are at the moment, well, the ones of you who speak German would understand Johann Wolfgang von Goethe in original, himmelhoch jauchzend zu Tode betrübt, rejoicing to heaven and grieving to death at the same time. So it's both emotions that we have. And it's similar in Europe, similar in the US, similar, I would say China is a little bit more on the optimistic way, but similar in many, many parts of the world. It's both things. And I would say this is absolutely normal for technologies that want to develop. If you look at the Gartner hype cycle, which is typical for all new technologies, this is the way to describe where we are. If you remember Fit for 55, 2020, when the hydrogen strategy in Europe started, so 4 years ago, and the Ukraine war, the expectation of the possibilities of hydrogen went up dramatically everywhere. We had to replace gas. We had to replace fossil energy. And we thought, yeah, let's do it one way. Let's replace Russian gas directly with hydrogen. And there were even expectations of having 2 times 10 million tons within the short period until 2030. You might remember the executive vice president of the European Commission, Frans Timmermans, who said himself, hydrogen is the rock star. He not only believed, he pushed very much towards these targets with Repower EU. It was mentioned, it was a program of the European Union. Well done, because to set an expectation is always something which is very important. I remember, I see His Excellency the Ambassador of Algeria here. I remember we went to Algeria. And at that time, hydrogen was something very futuristic. Today, you are here. Today, we see that the strategy of Algeria has adapted massively and has accelerated in a very, very short period of time. So sometimes it's important to have the torch of something new, and that happened. But then we saw inflation. Then we saw the vast problems that occur when wars come up, when value chains, when supply chains are interrupted, when you have to adapt, when things become more priceful, have a higher price. And that is where, when we started then to go from PowerPoint to Excel, discovered, oh, it is difficult to take an FID, a final investment decision, because the price at the moment is too high. This is absolutely understandable, and that's exactly the situation we are in. So we are absolutely in line with the Gartner cycle, but you can see the new commission is coming up. Mrs. von der Leyen. Mrs. von der Leyen said, you know what? This Fit for 55, and I'll come back to it, is super ambitious. Why don't we turn into something which is more pragmatic? She calls it the clean industrial deal. That means that many of these elements will be green, so she continues to be in the renewable sector, but other technologies, like we just have been presented, need to be integrated into this plan. She will deliver the first 100 days of her new mandate a clean industrial plan, a clean industrial deal, and there will be an implementation also of new mandates in that time, and that is the way to achieve the productivity in line with the cycle. Did we have successes last year? Because last year I was here on stage and presented to you the successes back then. That's the membership of our industry association only. So you can see it's growing in size, it's growing in diversity. That's also very important. This sector is not just wind, just solar, just gas, just waste. It's all of them integrated. That makes it relevant, but also difficult. It's difficult to match the expectations of so many different actors. People who build electrolyzers, they are interested in obliging the off-takers, like ammonia producers, fertilizer producers, oblige them to buy the electrolyzers. The off-takers say, don't oblige me, because the price of hydrogen at the moment is 3 times the fossil element, so I cannot afford it. Please de-risk me. So you see, you need to match the different expectations. That's what our sector is about to do and does. This is the spending of money. That's real money. It's not, okay, we have the ambition to spend in the member states ABC. No, this is what the European Union, the European Commission, spends only on hydrogen with regards to Horizon and Horizon Clean Hydrogen Partnership. So we heard about that in previous talks. But also Connecting Europe facility, and the big green thing here, you see here, is the ETS Innovation Fund. So we come already at 4 billion euro direct investment of EU into projects. That's not like the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act in the US, but it's relevant because you always have a ratio of 10% public funding, 90% private financing investment which comes into it. So this is a very, very important figure, and this shows that the European Commission did deliver. They did not only claim, they did deliver, I have to say, other than some member states. Member states in the European Union are very diverse. Some had big plans, did not deliver. Some had smaller plans, delivered. Some had big plans and delivered as well. No naming and shaming here, you can check yourself. Fit for 55. That's a law or a package of many, many laws and regulations. And this is the amount of different laws that have to do with this energy transition. All the files marked in red have to do with hydrogen and have been influenced massively by our sector. We were very busy last year to bring this to an end, and you can see this is a lot. This is more than 3,000 pages of law, and we will hear later on from our global partners, maybe the Europeans have too complex legislation. Maybe it's too detailed. Maybe it's regulating business to death. And I agree. And that should be a clear message from this summit here, from this European Hydrogen Week. Please, European Commission, please, Mrs. von der Leyen, don't kill this nascent sector to death. We achieved a lot globally by inviting a lot of interested states and governments into hydrogen, but Europe itself, due to regulation, becomes a difficult partner to import to. And that's what we should be careful of. These are the projects. This map, this global map, shows you, and it's an IEA, International Energy Agency map, the association or the international organization that is based in Paris. It shows you the projects all over the globe in 2023. And it shows you that there are a lot of projects in Europe. This is fantastic news. This is good. But I also have to tell you that most of them are before FID. The nice figure here that we see $75 billion of investment into hydrogen is real. It's concrete investment, but 2/3 of it are in China and in the US. So you see the difference between the Europeans. Big plans, nice ideas, excel, but no FID yet. Whereas other big geographies, and especially US and China play a role here, they do invest. But it's good to see so many projects all over the world, also in size, planned, scheduled, and sometimes already put into practice. Now let's come to the flip side of it. I just returned from Baku, from COP yesterday, and there we talked about emissions. This is why we are doing all these COPs, Paris Agreement. So what we see is there is, like last year, a new record high in CO2 emissions. It doesn't stop. It goes on. So global emissions increased by 1.3%. It was lower before COVID, but now it increased again. There's a new record of 57.4 gigatons of CO2 equivalent, and most of it comes from energy production, which amounts for 26%. And you see this is rising and rising and rising. Also, the global temperature is rising. These are the different scenarios that we have. In the most optimistic scenario here, we even cannot cope with the 1.5 degrees of the Paris Agreement, so we will grow. And if we take the pledges and targets that have been published globally, we are at 2.1. If we take the 2030 targets only, 2.5. And if we see which real policies and action are taken, we are at 2.7 degrees global warming effect. And this is serious, because also the extreme weather effects are on the rise. These are pictures from Valencia in Spain 2.5 weeks ago, and the attacks by angry people on their own king, which is understandable, but which is also a new development, because a king to be attacked by people, we remember that from the French Revolution, long time ago. So it's serious and it's concrete. It's not just theory we are talking about here. How to implement all this? Because it's nice to see the gap, but how to put this into practice? Ladies and gentlemen, let's put a little bit of realism into the game. Here you see how long it took coal to have a 10% market penetration globally. It took 54 years. In the oil case, it took 41 years, and in gas, 44 years. And we saw Luigi presented that all these elements reduce the carbon element, but still it took them over 40 years, all of them. We are in the 4th year of the hydrogen strategy. I want to remind everybody, and the expectation on hydrogen is way too big. I just wanted to put a little bit of realism into it. Even the renewables, if you see biomass, wind and solar that you have here, yes, they are faster, 20 years, it took them 20 years, but they are not at 10% globally. So realism helps us to understand what can we do with this destiny molecule. And ETS might be one of the keys, might be, I want to say, because if we look at the reality of ETS, we see that only 77.5%, not even 80% of the globe have ETS systems. So, sorry, not even 25% have ETS. Biggest contributor to ETS is China. And if you look at the price in China, the price of ETS of a ton of CO2 is $12. That's nothing. So it's an ETS that does not have the effect to bring down the use of carbon. And even in the European Union, the price has gone down to 52. So it's not relevant. ETS is interesting, is nice, it's not working. At the same time, we have fossil subsidies in a very, very high range. These are figures from the aggressive NGO IMF. So figures that show us that in the last years, the fossil subsidies were at $7 trillion. How can you compare hydrogen that gets, you saw, 4 billion of European Union with this here? How can you compare this? You cannot. So we need to find another way to understand if we want to reduce the carbon content, how in real terms to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, coming back from COP, and I will present a little bit later on COP, we have to understand that the energy hunger does not stop. I look to countries like Saudi Arabia, Algeria, who sell already. And I remember people saying, we are blessed in having this fossil. We know it's difficult, but the world is buying it. The world is buying it. So don't blame us to sell you something that you buy and even pay much more money. I think it will even rise because we need to build up all the wind turbines, all the solar panels. We need to see artificial intelligence in the data centers and the big impact it has on energy demand. There will be more fossil demand. We can't stop it. What we can do is we can learn from battery electric mobility, where combustion cars can only be sold if you have one battery car for 4 combustion cars. You know this multiplier. So you can only sell combustion cars if you have one battery per 4 combustion cars. We could do similar things here. We could, on a global level, agree upon fossil gigawatt in terms of renewable investments, and this is exactly what we have to do. And this is something we would like to discuss during that Hydrogen Week, in which we have a partner this time. So India as a partner, it's the first time we have a partner, but we also have over 8,000 square meters, again, of exhibition, high-level policy conference, you are in it, the B2B forum, which this time has a similar, smaller but similar setting. We have an innovation hub, which is new, so we brought the innovators to this conference. We have networking events, a trade show. We have also B2B meetings and startups, showcases and demonstrations. This all is part of this Hydrogen Week. And now I would like to turn to our partner country, which is India. And I would like to announce a video speech by the Minister he's the Minister of New and Renewable Energy in India. It's Pralhat Venkatesh Joshi, Minister. You will see his video and then we will welcome the Secretary here.
All the esteemed dignitaries, delegates participating in European Hydrogen Week. It gives me a great pleasure to address the August gathering at the European Hydrogen Week, where the India is exclusive country partner. India takes pride in being the fastest growing renewable energy capacity in the world and has emerged as one of the most attractive destinations for investments in renewable. At the heart of India's effort is the National Green Hydrogen Mission, NGHM. Friends, India begins this ambitious journey in green hydrogen sector in 2023 when the Union Cabinet under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi launched National Green Hydrogen Mission with a budgetary allocation of $2.4 billion. Within a short span of time, India has made a great progress and we have already awarded financial incentives for 4,12,000 tons per annum of green hydrogen production capacity. Also, we have supported setting up of 3,000 megawatt of electrolyzer manufacturing capacity in India. To encourage the creation of domestic demand, we have invited the world's largest green ammonia procurement tender of 7,39,000 tons per annum quantity. We are also in the process of inviting bids for 42,000 tons of annual capacity of utilizing green hydrogen in the refineries. We have plans to enhance the consumption of the green hydrogen in hard to abate sectors like steel sector. We have commissioned 3 pilot projects that will utilize green hydrogen in steel production. The mission has an overall target to establish production capacity of 5 million metric tons per annum by 2030. I am pleased to inform that the Indian industry is even more ambitious and have announced the capacities of more than 7 million metric tons per annum by 2030. I am confident that in the coming years, India shall be the producer for the cheapest green hydrogen production in the entire world. Europe, with its ambitious net zero plan, is the natural partner for us. Our companies have keen interest in securing offtake agreements with the European consumers. There are also plans to actively seek the technology types with the European companies for manufacturing large size of electrolyzers, stacks and the associated equipment. This is a win-win situation for both and can support our joint efforts to combat the climate change. I am confident that the interactions during the European Hydrogen Week will open new avenues and collaboration for both Indian and European companies as we try to build a better world for future generation in line with our motto of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. I wish the organizer of European Hydrogen all the best for the successful event and hope to build the lasting partnership for prosperity and global decarbonization. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. That was Minister Joshi, and we have the pleasure and the honor to welcome his secretary here today, Mr. Prashant Kumar Singh, who is new secretary since October, when I was in Delhi and could address the Green Hydrogen Conference. You were not in office, but you were already in the room, so he had prepared well. So I would like to welcome you, and before welcoming, having a photo with you here on stage and showing you, we took that seriously, because when I was in Delhi, we heard and clearly saw that your Prime Minister, that Mr. Modi is taking this extremely seriously. And Prime Minister Modi said you are 9 years ahead of schedule in Paris Agreement, and that is absolutely fantastic. And that is because you have a very clear, committed, also hydrogen strategy, and we will hear from you now. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Very good afternoon to all of you, esteemed delegates, both on and off the dais, industry leaders, fellow passengers on this beautiful journey, exciting yet challenging for green hydrogen. It's an honor for me to be present here today, representing a nation that is poised to play a very pivotal role in green hydrogen revolution. India's commitment to a sustainable future is unwavering. Our abundant renewable energy sources, our skilled workforce, our industry base are all working in tandem to promote this. When I say our renewable sector is progressing, let me give some statistics. Our solar capacities have gone 35 folds in the last 10 years. Our wind capacities have more than doubled. Our manufacturing, the integrated manufacturing is in place for solar. The regulatory frameworks are all in place. Coming to the skilled workforce, we have a large pool of scientists, engineers, who can not only fulfill the requirement of growing requirement of India, they can also be trained to be the skilled workforce of the world. Sorry. On the government support, the Indian government has demonstrated a very strong support by launching the National Green Hydrogen Mission. To just give you a flavor of what the mission is doing, we are committed to manufacture close to 5 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030. We have already floated our tenders for electrolyzers, for manufacture of green hydrogen, for green ammonia. We have had some firm offtake agreements. Things are actually working on the ground on a large scale. We are actively seeking international collaborations to accelerate the development of green hydrogen ecosystem. As somebody mentioned, R&D is key to it, and we look forward to an active collaboration in the R&D sector as well, to share knowledge and expertise, collaborating with leading countries in green hydrogen technology, to attract foreign investment, encourage foreign investments in India's green hydrogen projects, to develop global supply chains, establish robust supply chains for green hydrogen and its derivatives. The roadmap ahead is clear but not very easy, but almost nothing which is worth doing is easy. I believe it is also my duty to convey some of the concerns that the industry faces today in front of the esteemed attendees. As Jorgo rightly mentioned, regulation should enable the nascent field to grow and not seek to raise the bar so high that the industry can't innovate or can't grow. The delegated acts for RFNBO are truly a set of well-intentioned laws, but the true test of any law lies in how good it is, how well it is achieved. I believe concerns have been raised by some EU member countries as well regarding some of the provisions. Coupled with other laws such as the foreign subsidy regulations, these rules can sometimes deter industries from innovating in the first place. It doesn't make sense to first raise the cost through regulations and then subsidize it through taxpayers' money. We have taken a pragmatic approach with regard to this, with regard to regulations on the emission intensity of hydrogen. We acknowledge that there are potential unknowns in the future and not everything that we try will be successful. However, we can at least endure that our rules are nimble enough to adopt and adjust to the changing reality. What green hydrogen needs is a first mover's advantage, not a first mover's disadvantage. With these remarks, I invite all of you to explore our India Pavilion, where we can deliberate more on what we are doing in India. Let us work together to unlock the full potential of green hydrogen and build a sustainable future for generations to come. Thank you for a patient hearing. Thank you.
Many thanks, State Secretary. And I think you made crystal clear that some countries just do. The refineries in India will use green hydrogen because the government said, if you don't use green hydrogen, who should? It's the lowest hanging fruit. They need hydrogen anyway. They can pay it. And the Prime Minister just said, don't let me regulate this. Just buy and they do. This explains the success. Whereas we are discussing regulations and in the end don't achieve the target, Indian shows the way. We'll come back to it. Let me now turn to the Minister of Energy and Mines from Algeria, Mohamed Arkab. We have a short message by him, and His Excellency the Ambassador is here, and also the CEO of the biggest African company, Sonatrach, which is an Algerian company. Welcome. Minister's video, please.
Mesdames et messieurs, tout d'abord, permettez-moi d'exprimer mes sincères remerciements aux organisateurs de cette semaine européenne de l'hydrogène, à savoir la Commission européenne, Hydrogène Europe, ainsi que Clean Hydrogen Partnership. Je suis honoré d'adresser ce message à High Level Policy Conference afin d'échanger avec vous des idées et des réflexions sur la dynamique mondiale et européenne de l'évolution et les défis pour le développement de l'hydrogène. Notre dialogue aujourd'hui contribuera certainement à élargir notre compréhension, à explorer de nouvelles voies de collaboration stratégique et de partage des technologies innovantes qui stimulent l'évolution de cette nouvelle filière. Mesdames et messieurs, comme vous le savez, l'Algérie accorde une grande importance au développement de l'hydrogène vert et met en œuvre à cet effet une stratégie nationale de développement de cette filière qui est considérée comme un axe important pour sa transition énergétique et l'atteinte de ses engagements climatiques. Cette stratégie est basée sur plusieurs axes permettant la création d'un environnement propice pour le développement de l'hydrogène. Je citerai notamment le cadre réglementaire et normatif, le développement du capital humain, l'intégration industrielle et financement, et enfin la coopération internationale. L'Algérie est résolue de devenir un acteur majeur dans le domaine de l'hydrogène, grâce aux atouts importants dont dispose le pays, essentiellement son potentiel important en énergie solaire et éolienne. Son réseau électrique et gazier, avec une importante capacité de dessalement d'eau de mer et une maîtrise dans toute la chaîne de valeur énergétique. Ainsi, notre pays a lancé de nombreux projets pilotes de petite taille dans le cadre du partenariat stratégique avec l'Union européenne et qui sont actuellement à l'étude. Ils permettront la maîtrise de toutes les chaînes de valeur pour le développement et la production de l'hydrogène vert. Aussi, les projets de production de carburant de type kérosène et méthanol sont également à l'étude, en complément d'un projet semi-industriel à Arzeu, à l'ouest d'Alger, pour développer une unité de production d'hydrogène d'une capacité de 50 MW en partenariat avec l'Allemagne. Mesdames et messieurs, la prochaine étape de cette stratégie consiste à la réalisation de plusieurs projets à l'échelle industrielle d'une capacité totale supérieure à 1 million de tonnes par an, qui seront développés avec nos partenaires européens, incluant la maîtrise technologique, l'intégration industrielle et le financement avec pour l'objet le développement d'un marché potentiel qui va absorber cette production. Pour acheminer l'hydrogène vers l'Europe, nous travaillons en étroite collaboration avec nos partenaires européens dans le cadre d'un MOU signé à Alger en octobre 2024 entre Sonatrach, Sonelgaz, VNG, SNAM, Verbund et Sea Corridor pour la réalisation d'une étude de faisabilité d'une interconnexion qui reliera l'Algérie à l'Europe pour atteindre l'Allemagne, l'Italie et l'Autriche. Un autre projet sera développé entre Sonatrach et la société espagnole CEPSA pour la réalisation d'une étude de faisabilité technique et économique d'un projet de 200 MW et la possibilité d'exporter cet hydrogène vers l'Espagne via les installations existantes. Mesdames et messieurs, en conclusion, il convient de rappeler que l'émergence d'une filière intégrée de l'hydrogène dépendra d'un ensemble de conditions liées notamment au coût, à la concurrence d'une source d'énergie, à la création des marchés compétitifs, aux politiques publiques de soutien à l'hydrogène, aux progrès et innovations technologiques nécessaires, ainsi qu'à la sécurité des installations. Il s'agit également du renforcement de la coopération internationale à travers un dialogue continu et un partenariat gagnant-gagnant qui permettra sans doute d'échanger des expériences et de bénéficier de la technologie et le partage d'expériences et d'expertise dans ce domaine. Je vous souhaite un bon succès dans vos travaux et merci pour votre attention.
It's good to hear French here in Brussels also to pay tribute to this wonderful language in a town where this language is the official language. Ladies and gentlemen, the European Union has always a presidency. The current presidency is Hungary, and the Hungarians are extremely busy with conferences. They organize the SET Plan Conference, the Strategic Energy and Technology Plan Conference, and that is why the president is very busy in Hungary. So Attila Steiner, the gentleman who is responsible for energy in the presidency, has his address right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the potential benefits of hydrogen technology are numerous, and there is no doubt that it has a promising future as an alternative energy source. The various use of hydrogen can significantly contribute to fulfilling climate commitments and realizing emission reduction plans. It also can be a valuable asset in reducing emissions in sectors that are crucial for competitiveness but difficult to electrify, such as steel industry and fertilizer production. The deployment of the technology can strengthen the energy sovereignty of the European Union and its member states while reducing their external dependencies. Long-distance transportation can be achieved by utilizing the existing natural gas infrastructure, while storage capacities can be used for energy storage between seasons. In the short term, the most immediate opportunity for the expansion of hydrogen may be in transportation through the gradual greening of urban public transport, railway and road freight traffic. However, it's important to recognize the significant challenges as well. Producing green hydrogen is currently still too expensive, and the development of the value chain needed to support its utilization is only in the early stages. In a report published this summer, the European Court of Auditors calls for EU industrial policy on renewable hydrogen to be brought into line with reality. They recorded significant delays in meeting existing targets on time, and production and import expectations for 2030 were considered too ambitious. They clearly indicated that decisions on strategic steps towards decarbonization must be made in a way that avoids deterioration of the competitive position of major EU industries. The auditors called for an update of the EU hydrogen strategy with a particular focus on the proper calibration of market incentives and prioritizing the parts of the value chain most worthy of funding. During its presidency, Hungary is actively working to highlight the need to maintain European competitiveness with various policies. We believe that our common efforts must be based on a realistic assessment of the situation, and that we should set achievable goals in light of the actual circumstances. In Hungary, we strive to make good progress in the adoption of hydrogen technology. This summer, we opened Hungary's first green hydrogen plant, and more Hungarian cities are using hydrogen-fueled cell buses for local transport. And the Hungarian Trade Association is a founding member of the Free Seas Hydrogen Council, established this year to develop the hydrogen sector in Central Europe and the Baltic Sea region. The leading representatives of the hydrogen sector will present their achievements and promising projects on the separate Hungarian stand at the exhibition running in parallel with the conference. Hydrogen technology is facing a critical decade, and it is now a question of whether we can turn the great opportunities into a shared success for the benefit of all, while overcoming the serious challenges. Hydrogen Week, as a key forum for the industry, offers a great opportunity to move forward in this quest by sharing best practices and ideas, as well as discussing the directions to follow. Thank you for your attention, and I wish all participants productive work, the thought-provoking discussions.
Many thanks. In Hungarian, köszönöm. And it's important to underline that Hungary indeed took a leading role during the presidency, although it's a difficult time, so it's the time between the two commissions, but took a leading role in helping the low carbon hydrogen delegated act, so the definition of low carbon hydrogen to be specified, and that's really, really good. Let's now turn to a country that was one of the front runners of the hydrogen economy globally. Not talk too lot, do, and that was Japan. We have the honor to welcome Shinichi Kihara, who is the Director General for International Policy on Carbon Neutrality in the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry in Japan. Mr. Kihara, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shinichi Kihara from Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this important event of European Hydrogen Week. I have participated in COP29 and just flew in from Baku, and I am glad that I could sneak out from the negotiation and come to discuss hydrogen future. The parties there share the urgent need for ambitious actions to achieve 1.5 degree target globally, and hydrogen plays an important role in our challenging journey. Today, I'm happy to introduce Japan's policies and action and how we collaborate with Europe on hydrogen. Japan aims to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 46% by 2030 compared to 2013 and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. To make this happen, Japan is promoting Green Transformation Strategy, or the GX. Recently, Japanese government issued the GX transition bond of 20 trillion yen, or $130 billion equivalent, to finance this action and projects. The GX has three key driving principles. First, triple breakthrough. We need to achieve emission reduction, economic growth, and energy security simultaneously. We cannot sacrifice one for the other. So, GX strategy is a comprehensive strategy involving climate policy, energy policy, and industrial policy. It is a strategy to step up our competitiveness using these clean technologies. Second, one goal, various pathways. Towards our common goal of achieving net zero, we will make practical energy transitions through various pathways, depending on the circumstances of each country and companies. Various pathways means technology neutral. In the power sector, for example, we should facilitate renewable energy as priority, but other options, like low and zero emission thermal power, hydrogen, ammonia, nuclear, and also CCUS, are all important options for our choices. Third is solution to the world. Japan will decarbonize itself, but also contribute to global decarbonization by providing solutions through technology, finance, and human capacity outside Japan. Japan's greenhouse gas emission accounts for 3% of global emission, but we are committed to bring not only that 3% to zero, but also contribute to reducing the remaining 97%. And hydrogen is an important technology to fulfill all three principles. Hydrogen policy is in the center of our GX strategy. This slide outlines the development of Japan's hydrogen policies to date. Japan formulated the world's first national hydrogen strategy as Basic Hydrogen Strategy in 2017. In 2021, we established a Green Innovation Fund equivalent to 12 billion euros to accelerate research, development, and demonstration of innovative technologies necessary for commercialization, including hydrogen. Last year, we revised the Basic Hydrogen Strategy, adding new industrial and safety strategies as we move from technology establishment phase to commercialization phase. Furthermore, in May this year, the government passed the Hydrogen Society Promotion Act in the Diet session. The Act strongly promotes the establishment of large-scale and resilient low-carbon hydrogen supply chain. Hydrogen is expected to be used in a wide range of sectors, including the hard-to-abate sectors. However, necessary technologies are still in development stage. Therefore, the hydrogen price is still 5 times more expensive compared to conventional energy. This leaves hydrogen less attractive energy choice. To break this situation, the Hydrogen Society Promotion Act established 2 new support schemes. The first supports focus on the price gap between low-carbon hydrogen and conventional fuels. We allocate 3 trillion yen, or 20 billion euros, across 15 years. This support is a CFD, contract for different type, which will support the price gap for 15 years from the start of supply, based on business plan that integrates both suppliers and users. This scheme intends to promote building sustainable supply chain. Low-carbon hydrogen suppliers will be required to supply to users, including hard-to-abate sectors, such as steel and chemicals. The suppliers are also required to commit to continuing supply for 10 more years after the 15-year support ends. We aim to expand its implementation across various sectors and reduce costs. The second is support for hydrogen hub development. We aim to support capital expenditures for infrastructure development that will lead to expansion of low-carbon hydrogen utilization in regions where large-scale demand is anticipated. The support goes to commonly used infrastructure facilities, such as tanks and pipelines, that will be used by multiple companies. This will help create an environment capable of accommodating large-scale utilization of low-carbon hydrogen. Through these supports, Japan will strongly promote the social implementation of low-carbon hydrogen. Building a large-scale and resilient supply chain cannot be achieved by Japan alone. International cooperation is essential. One example of international cooperation is the Japan-EU Hydrogen High-Level Business Forum we held in June this year. We agreed on the importance of building a strengthening, resilient, and sustainable supply chain in the hydrogen sector. Additionally, we established a working group on Japan-EU Clean Energy Industry Policy Coordination to facilitate discussion on the evaluation of non-price requirements. Furthermore, Japan's JH2A and NEDO, and the Hydrogen Europe and the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, which are participating today, have signed a memorandum of understanding to strengthen collaboration in technology development. Cooperation between Japan and EU is progressing across the entire supply chain in the private sector. In terms of production, the Tore and Siemens are utilizing Japan's Green Innovation Fund to advance the development and demonstration of large-scale water electrolysis system. Regarding transportation, Kawasaki Heavy Industries conducted a demonstration operation of the world's first liquefied hydrogen tanker in cooperation with Shell. For utilization, preparations are underway to install Kawasaki Heavy Industries' hydrogen gas turbines at RWE's power plant for demonstration in the near future. In the mobility sector, Toyota, Hino, Mitsubishi Fuso, and Daimler Trucks have agreed to collaborate to strengthen their commercial vehicle businesses. In such ways, both the public and private sectors from Japan and the EU are cooperating in policies and technology development on building strong supply chain. And please visit the Japan Pavilion out there, where we showcase all the Japanese technology. The Japan Pavilion is the coolest pavilion in this venue, after yours. Now is the time for action. Japan and EU can take a big step forward together towards secure and sustainable energy future in Japan, Europe, and all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Director General Kihara. Thanks very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have protesters here, and I would like to invite them. They were here at our conference, and I think it's always good to have dialogue and to listen and to talk, and that's why I would like to invite you to take the floor, because if you want to protest, please do. Please tell us what your thoughts are, but I would like to please stay afterwards also for an answer. Would that be okay? So we enter into a dialogue? So if you don't mind, I'll leave the floor to the protesters.
All right. Is it ready to use this? Yeah. So, as you heard, we are a group of protesters, of transnational organizers from different countries around Europe. We came today to resist green colonialism and the green energy transition which is pushed for by Europe and by the EU, which continues to have blood on its hands and to continue to extract resources from global majority countries and bringing them to Europe. We are here today in the 14th month of the genocide in Palestine by the settler colonial entity Israel, and some of the sponsors here tonight, such as SNAM, are directly profiting by the Israeli settler colony. We are also here today during COP29, which is making a farce of what a just energy transition could look like and continues to legitimize Azerbaijan, a petrol state that continues to use energy as an excuse to steal Armenian lands.
And Azerbaijan is a perfect example of the injustice that we're here to call out, and also a perfect example of how we cannot trust the fossil fuel corporations that have profited from climate breakdown with any kind of green transition. The companies involved in legitimising Azerbaijan's ethnic cleansing in Armenian land through this so-called green transition zone are at the exact same time still expanding oil and gas that will tip us closer to climate collapse and using exactly the same violent colonial practices in their oil and gas expansion and this so-called hydrogen future. To give you an example, both BP and Total are involved in this green transition zone, whilst also profiting from land grabbing and genocide. BP is the majority owner of the BTC pipeline that gives over 30% of oil to Israel to fuel its genocidal military machine. Total, also involved in this green transition zone, is responsible for pressing forward with the East African crude oil pipeline that will displace thousands of farmers and local people across Tanzania and Uganda. This is but one example, 3 examples of many, that shows exactly why we need these corporations out, and we need to work with and be led by affected communities to realise true global climate justice and a livable and fair future and present for everyone across this planet. And we need to desperately move beyond endless, unjust extraction of resources from the global south to benefit those in the global north and line the pockets of fossil fuel corporations. And with this, I'm going to read out 2 quotes from affected communities, both in Chile and Palestine. So in Chile, this is a quote from Natalia. Green hydrogen, promoted by the same companies historically responsible for fossil capitalism, reproduces the same model of accumulation by dispossession and ecological debt, promoted by the colonialist practices of the global north. Chile's ambition to produce the cheapest hydrogen in the world hides the sacrifice of territories and ecosystems crucial to the sustainability of life in our region and on the planet. It also represents an enormous threat to traditional and indigenous communities whose sources of subsistence are linked to artisanal fishing, as is the case of the Chango people in the Antofagasta region in northern Chile. In that region alone, hundreds of renewable energy projects, desalination plants, ports, and all types of infrastructure associated with hydrogen production are concentrated. In this sense, European investments, both through financial institutions and companies, are large-scale, and the speculative and experimental nature of the sector makes the populations that they will be affected fear that they will be left with all of these interventions and impacts on their territories and that no one will be held responsible. So that was from Natalia, and now I'll read out one last quote. That is from Naji from the Global Energy Embargo for Palestine group, who is based in Palestine. EU Hydrogen Week is proudly sponsored by an Italian corporation, SNAM, that continues to profit off settler colonial occupation, apartheid, and ongoing genocide in Palestine. The pipeline that SNAM owns in Palestinian seas generates billions of dollars in revenue for Israel's war economy and was used as a primary justification for the 17-year illegal naval blockade on Gaza. This blockade has illegally reduced our maritime areas from 20 miles to 1 mile, enforced by illegal military patrols that murdered Palestinian fishermen and children daily. Now SNAM is not only complicit in this genocide, but actively lines its pockets as our people are massacred. Resistance and disruptions are crucial to expose such complicity, demand accountability, and expose tactics to greenwash settler violence. We need a comprehensive energy embargo, as called for by Palestinian groups, to ensure an end to the use of energy in fueling genocide. Thanks.